Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Real Truth Real Quick. We're glad to be with you. I'm with my friend Russell Moore, who is a gift to all of us. Russell, you just wrote a book called Onward, which talks about how to engage the culture. There is a lot of our culture that is being thrown at our kids, and we as parents are gatekeepers and guardians. Here's a question I know a lot of parents ask me. You get asked a lot.
Yeah.
When should I give my children an iPhone or an iPad, or should I ever? How do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, the first thing is I think all the time that I thank God that I came of age right before the digital revolution really took off, because I know if I had had an iPhone or an iPad at 12 or 14 or some young age, my parents would not have known all of the possibilities there, and I know I would have wrecked my life.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes you have parents who assume because everybody's got an iPhone or an iPad, that means that my kid needs to have this, and don't really recognize what happens, both in terms of the stuff that can be accessed on the internet, that a child really is not equipped to be able to handle that level of temptation.
Yeah, if you give your kid an iPhone without any restriction,
Yeah.
then you're giving your kid a gateway into some of the darkest stuff.
Absolutely.
That in the darkest alleys used to only be available.
Absolutely. And the same thing is true if you think, well, just coming in and changing some settings and handing this device to the kid is going to solve it. That is not going to solve it, because every generation is more technologically savvy than the generation before it. And so, I mean, what I think works well is to say there's specific times when screens are available. Parents are in control of that. This device that you have, it's not your device, it's our device. And you're not going to have it alone in your room. You're going to be in the presence of all of us. And there's going to be strong measures of accountability. I think so. Technology can be a really good thing. I mean, I have a device that I've given to my children where I've set it where there's a text messaging capacity, but it's limited to where it can only come to one of the parents. So I'll text back and forth with my kids when I'm out of town. That's a great blessing to me, but I would never give them the ability to go. It's not because I don't think my kids are great. It's I don't think any of us can be entrusted to that level of responsibility.
Yeah, so many parents. First of all, the first thing we're saying is you've got to know the capacity of the tool that you're giving your child.
Yeah.
And Proverbs 22:3 says, "The prudent see evil and hide themselves, but the naive proceed and inherit folly." And not just your own folly, because I want to tell you something. There's a lot of adults who can't handle their iPhone or iPad.
Absolutely.
And to give that engine to a kid, and some parents are even going to say, "Hey, well, Russell, man, every kid, my kid's the only kid in the 4th grade,
Absolutely.
or 7th grade, or whatever it is that doesn't have one of these." And what do parents say to kids all the time, right? They say, "Hey, if everybody was jumping off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge?" And we got to tell parents, you got to think through this.
Yeah.
Just because every parent is jumping off the bridge into technology doesn't mean you need to. So what are some things, though, that you've done? You mentioned already a specific device, but as you've talked to your kids about this, because you've heard that from your kids, right? Dad, everybody has one but us.
Right.
You have 5 kids.
I do, yeah.
Talk about what you did in your conversation.
Well, I mean, the bigger issue than the device is communicating to them that right and wrong and our direction over you is not determined by the majority vote of the culture around us, regardless of what it is that we're talking about. And so I want them to know what objectives I have. I'm concerned about your moral purity. I'm also concerned about your attention span while you're developing. I'm concerned about your presence here in our home, which means I have to watch myself. I have to make sure that I'm not responding to every text message that comes in when I'm at home with my kids, or sitting at the table and constantly checking the phone. That has to be modeled by the parents in the home as well.
Yep. So one of the things that we would say to parents is, first of all, you got to understand when you're walking your kids through, it's not just keeping them from something, it's preparing them for what one day they're going to have.
Right.
Right? And so our job, I always tell people, is not to have obedient kids under our watch. Our job is to raise healthy adults.
That's right.
And healthy adults in this generation have got to understand how to use technology.
That's right.
Okay.
And that means whatever restrictions you do put on, you're not just imposing that because I say so, but you're actually teaching your children this is why we're making the decisions that we're making. Even if you're wrong, you're actually training your child to be a future husband or wife, and father and mother, and who will have to think through those things. May make different decisions than you made, but they're learning from you how to even process those sorts of questions.
And one of the things we tell our kids when they do have an iPhone or an iPad, and I've got kids up now through where I have grandchildren, but I would tell you that we let them know, hey, well, I'm paying for this, right? I know the password. I have access to your phone at any time, and it's not because I'm going to check up on you. My wife is far better at this than I am. I've grabbed it every now and then. Go, hey, what have you been texting? Who have you been texting?
That's right.
And what are you looking at? Because here's the thing. I would just tell you this. Even with some of the filters you can put on phones, there's so many back doors and gateways to get the trouble. And frankly, here's one of the things I would say. Whether you give your kid an iPhone or iPad or not, you need to know their friends have it.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And so you better have the conversation with them, whether you put it in their hands or not, because at the lunch table, kids aren't going to have folded up, creased pieces of paper that they stole from their brother anymore. It's going to be every iPhone is an access to real trouble, and you better teach your kids how to handle it.
And that's true even to church.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be having those conversations with them very early on.
You better stay engaged with the kids and know what's going on. Be equipped. Give them some good boundaries. Give them lots of help. And make sure you understand what's there yourself. Hey, thanks, Dr. Moore. Thank you, friends, for joining us. And we'll see you real quick. There's a link up here to hit and subscribe to all our YouTube videos. And we invite you to do that. And we look forward to seeing you next time on the next episode of Real Truth Real Quick.